Ramana Jaya Jaya Navala Kishore Jaya Gopi Chit Chora Prabhu Jaya Jaya Makhan Chor Jaya Jaya Makhan Chor Shri Krishna Chandra Bhagavan ki Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki उपस्थित भगवत अनुरागी पधारे हुए इस सभा को परम सुशोभित करने वाले हमारे
Hare Krishna. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, Guru and Guranga. I extend my warm greetings and a heartfelt welcome to all the senior Vaishnavas of International Society for Krishna Consciousness. I also extend my deep welcome from the core of my heart to all the Vaishnavas and devotees who have assembled here on the Zoom platform and also other platforms like YouTube and Facebook. I would extend my special greetings and heartfelt welcome to the host family from New Jersey, USA, and also Chand family from Bangladesh. This katha has been organized in the loving memory of late Madhuben Patel and late Yogesh Bhai Patel. I extend my heartfelt gratitude to Bhai Lal Bhai Patel from New Jersey, USA, who has organized this beautiful katha, and his family, his daughter-in-law Deepa Bain, and her sons Vishal and Sahaj, and also the daughter of Bailal Bhai Patel, Hina Mataji, and her husband Pankaj Kumar Bhai, and their son Jaimin and daughter Ravina. My special thanks also to Chand family, who have organized this katha in the loving memory of Kalpana Rani Chand, Bindu Chand, and Durjatan Chand. So I welcome each one of you who have assembled here to the 7th and final day katha of 305th session of Shrimad Bhagavatam. Hare Krishna, Radhe Shyam.
आप सब हरि भक्तों को श्रीमद् भगवत गीता के चतुर्थ अध्याय का ये श्लोक याद होगा.
So all the devotees who have assembled here would be able to recall the shloka of 4th chapter of Bhagvat Gita, where Lord Krishna said something of this nature to Arjun. So what did Lord Krishna say? We shall attempt to understand a point here. Lord Krishna says, "O Arjun," Lord Krishna says to Arjun, only such an individual can come to me, only such an individual can attain me. So which individual can attain Lord Krishna? Which individual can come to Lord Krishna? This is being explained by Lord Krishna to Arjun. So Lord Krishna says, a person who is able to understand me by element, by my element. So such individuals who are able to understand me by element.
वह व्यक्ति इदम देह त्यक्त्वा, ये मनुष्य शरीर त्याग
So
कर
such people, such
पुनर्जन्म, एक
individuals
तो उसका
who are
पुनर्जन्म नहीं
able
होगा,
to understand me
और दूसरी बहुत बड़ी बात,
in
क्या
nature
होगा?
by
वह व्यक्ति,
elements
ये अर्जुन,
would not
वो मुझको
be
प्राप्त कर
entangled
पाएगा,
in the cycle
मेरे
of
नाम से
birth
प्राप्त कर
and death,
पाएगा।
and such an
इसके श्लोक
individual
सब जानते हैं,
would attain me,
इनका भाव
would
सबको
find a
अच्छा है,
place in my
जिनका
abode.
जिसको कहना है।
So the point that I
हम
want to get across
भगवान
to each one of you is,
उतने ही निकट जा सकते हैं जितना हम भगवान को तत्व से जानते हैं।
so
फिर
the
से
point that I want you to understand is,
भगवान के निकट जाना है,
if we
सिर्फ
want
ऐसे
to
ही
get
नहीं
closer
कि
to God,
भगवान से दूर हो जाना
then the
है,
question is to
उन्होंने
what
हमको देखने की
extent
जरूरत नहीं,
we can be
जैसे
placed
कहावत
closer to
नहीं
God.
कहती, बाप और
Only to
बेटे
the
ठेले में
extent
घूमने गए,
we attempt
बाप
to
की मूंछें
understand the
खींच ली
Lord
और बेटा रोने लगा,
by the Lord's
फिर उस
element,
बेटे को
only to
मूंछ
that
ली, कपड़े
extent
दिए, कुछ भी
we would be
किया,
able to understand
और
Lord.
कब तक?
Now,
जब
this
तक
is something like a
बाप
story
अपना पिता नहीं
wherein a
जानेगा।
father and the son went to a
हमारा
fair,
रोना
and
उस
where
दिन नहीं होगा जब जब
somehow
हमारे असली पिता,
they
परम
got
पिता
to
हमारे घर
lose,
नहीं
the son particularly got to lose the company of his father. Now the son was crying
लेकिन
very
जिस
badly.
परम पिता
So
के
many people offered him gifts
निकट
and something to
कोई ना
eat,
जा
but
सकता
he
है,
was still weeping. Why? Because
हम
he
सब
was
परम पिता
looking
के
for
पास
the
जाएंगे,
company of his
फिर भी
father.
परम पिता
So
के
you
5
see,
फीट दूर होंगे,
when I attempt to
इसमें वो
say
10 फीट
that
दूर
we
होंगे,
must make an attempt to get closer to God, that doesn't mean
उसको
that we
मानना
would
है,
be sitting in the lap
क्योंकि
of the Lord,
ईश्वर
or that we
निर्भर
should only
करता है
target that.
भगवान से।
You know, different individuals, different
हम
devotees would be
जितना
placed
भी
at different
भगवान के
distances or
तत्व को
different positions
समझेंगे,
from the God,
उतने
and
उतने
this
भगवान
different
के निकट
distances
जाएंगे।
and different positions from the Lord will
So
depend
how
upon
one
to what extent we have been
knowledge,
able to understand the element of the
तत्व
Lord.
का नॉलेज,
It
तत्व ज्ञान
depends
कितना होगा,
completely upon
भगवान के
what is
जितने
the
कर्म के
extent
तत्व
of our
को
knowledge
जितना
towards
जानते
the
हैं,
Lord. To
उतना
what
ज्यादा हम
extent
भगवान के
have
निकट
we
जाएंगे।
made an attempt to
समझ में आ
understand the
गई?
Lord, right?
तो समझ में आ
So,
गया कि ये सिद्धांत
your
कैसे है?
efforts to understand the Lord shall
बहुत
decide
कुछ सुनना है,
at what position you shall be
सिद्धांत जो है
placed with respect to
कथा
Lord.
केवल
You see,
सिद्धांत के पिलर पर खड़ी होती है,
the
यदि
foundation
कथा
of
में सिद्धांत न हो
the Katha
तो बिना पिलर के
is
खड़ी
based
होगी।
on the principle, just like a building without a
जो शिल
foundation
प्रभुपाद जी ने
would
श्री
not be able to
चैतन्य
stay
चरितमृत में ये
intact.
सिखाया,
Similarly,
इसी
a Katha
सिद्धांत
without
के
principles would
अंतर्गत
not be
भगवत गीता
stable.
श्रवण करनी
So
चाहिए।
in Chaitanya
तो एक
Charitamrut,
बार
Lord Chaitanya went on to say that
भगवान
on the
के
basis of the foundation of
तत्व को
principles, Bhagvat Katha must be
जितना
listened.
अधिक समझेंगे
So the
उतना
more
अधिक
the effort to understand the elements of the Lord,
अब भगवान के तत्व को कैसे
more
समझें?
closer shall be placed to the
मैं
Lord.
क्या प्रश्न पूछूं?
Now,
आप माइक
the
पे
million dollar
वो
question
प्रश्न
here
पूछिए,
is
वो जो बैठे हैं ना,
that how do we understand that we have been able to
लेकिन आप
understand the elements of
मैं
God,
प्रश्न
or
पूछूं
we have been able to understand the Lord in
केवल
terms of
एक ही था
elements?
बता, भगवान के जितने निकट जाना है उतना भगवान को तत्व से समझना है, बिना उनको तत्व से समझे निकट नहीं जा सकते, और जितना ज्यादा समझेंगे उतना ज्यादा निकट जाएंगे। तो फिर उस भगवान को तत्व से कैसे जाना जाए? हाँ,
So,
तत्व से नहीं
how do
जाना
we
है, जैसे
understand
मोटा मोटी
the Lord
ऊपर ऊपर
by
समझ
his
आता है,
elements?
टीवी सीरियल आते हैं ना,
Now,
कार्टून
you
वगैरह,
see,
तो वहां से थोड़ा बहुत
if somebody is in a denial or refusal mode or doesn't want to put hard work to understand the Lord, so there are
उससे
options of
जानने की
television,
कोशिश
movies,
करता हूँ।
etc. But that is all superficial or
केवल
shallow
एक ही बात
understanding
पता
of the
चलती
Lord.
है, और
So,
वो
if
है
we need
शास्त्र।
to understand the Lord by his
भगवान
elements,
के द्वारा
the
दिए गए
only and the
स्क्रिप्चर्स,
ultimate
शास्त्र,
option
वेद,
available to
पुराण,
us is
उपनिषद, ये ग्रंथ, ये
Shastras,
प्रामाणिक
Vedic
ग्रंथ,
knowledge,
ये सर्टिफाइड
proven
ग्रंथ ही
texts, certified
हमारे लिए
texts
एकमात्र
which are
उपाय है।
placed before
इन
us.
ग्रंथों
So
के
these
माध्यम से भगवान
Shastras,
को तत्व
literature,
से समझे।
texts are the only way
कोई
out on the
परेशानी?
basis of which we would be able to understand
देखिए,
Lord by the
अभी
elements.
भी परेशानी दूर नहीं हुई।
Or in the real sense of the term,
ये
we can
सिर्फ
understand the
भारतीय
Lord.
संस्कृति
But
में
again,
है,
the problem is
और
that many of
संस्कृत
us
में
do not
निकट का
understand
बहुत सारे
Sanskrit,
अर्थ होते हैं।
and that many of us are not so
जिन
conversant with
स्टूडेंट्स को हमने श्रीमद्
Sanskrit, And on the top of that, there can be
कि किसी को
numerous
कहा कि
meanings
सैंधव लाओ,
to a line,
सैंधव
to a statement written in Sanskrit.
तो अब इसका अर्थ क्या होगा? सैंधव का एक अर्थ होता है नमक, सॉल्ट। हम लोग कहते हैं ना सीधा नमक, सीधा
Now you
नमक।
see the term Sandhav
तो
means
सैंधव
rock
में ये
salt
सैंधव लाओ
in
तो
one
इसका
sense,
नमक हो गया। लेकिन संस्कृत व्याकरण में
but in
बड़े
Sanskrit
वर्गों के लिए
grammar,
भी सैंधव
even
हो गया।
horse is also called as
अब मान लो मैंने
Sandhav.
संस्कृत में लिख दिया सैंधव आया, तो
Now,
आप
if
आदमी
in
समझ
Sanskrit it
जाएंगे
is written
सैंधव आया मिल
Sandhav
गया।
Aya, means whether the
तो
rock
हमें
salt has
किसी भी
come or whether the
व्याकरण
horse
मिल गया,
has
लेकिन
come.
केवल
So now
ज्ञान से
again,
काम नहीं बनेगा।
devotees would be perplexed that which
ज्ञान
meaning
से
should they go for?
100% तो ईश्वर का तत्व
That
प्रकट
means
नहीं
what?
आएगा।
It is
कुछ
impossible
certain level तक
to understand the element of the Lord
समझ में
sent
आएंगे,
person by
लेकिन
way of
आपको समझ में
text,
आएंगे।
right? So there is also some limitation beyond which we would not be able to understand the Lord even by way of studying the
फलाने ने कभी
Shastras.
फलाने को पानी दिया, तो उस व्यक्ति ने कहा बस। अब वो बस जो है ना, वो दो स्टाइल में कहा जा सकता है। बस, तो इसका मतलब क्या हुआ? वो बस, अब पानी नहीं चाहिए।
Now, for example, if
लेकिन
an
एक
individual
व्यक्ति
was
को
offered
पानी दिया गया
water
है, बस,
and
तो
after
इसका मतलब
that, that individual said,
बस इतना ही,
Bas,
इतना कम और दो,
or his
तो
style
ये
may be
बस नहीं
Bas,
चाहिए।
which would
बस
mean
ऐसा
what?
समझकर वो
That in one context,
चाहिए,
he is
और
asking that he
सीधा
does
साधा
not
बोले
need
बस तो नहीं चाहिए।
any more water. And in the second
ईश्वर के
aspect,
पास, मैं फिर से एक बार
it's like
प्रश्न
he's
करूंगा,
demanding
ईश्वर
more.
के पास
So,
उतना निकट जा पाएंगे
what
जितना
we
वो
must
तत्व से
understand
समझेंगे।
is
और
that
उस ईश्वर को तत्व से समझने का
the
एकमात्र
extent
ग्रंथ
of
वेद
our
शास्त्र।
understanding of the Lord
क्योंकि
on the basis of element
हमने
can
कल
place
देखा था ना,
us closer to
क्वचित
God,
विचित्र
but the
ग्रंथ
extent of closeness depends upon
क्वचित है,
to what
जिसकी
extent have we
श्रुति समझ में
understood the
आती
Lord
है।
by the element. Now, to understand the Lord by his element, it is important,
और
you
कृष्ण
know,
को ऊपर से
to read
कैसे,
the Shastras, to study the
कृष्ण
Shastras.
को आगे
But again,
पीछे ऊपर नीचे
Shastras
बिल्कुल उनके
have their
रेफरेंस
own
से
meaning,
हो सकता
different
है।
meanings or different
और
interpretations
अद्भुत
can also
महान
happen.
केवल
And we
कृष्ण
might have a
समझे
limitation to
समस्त
understand just one
संसार,
or
ऐसी
two
सामर्थ्य
interpretation.
नहीं।
So having said so, you see, in this material world,
क्या
people
क्या
who are
कहते हैं?
entangled in the material world,
भगवान कृष्ण
there is
समझ
always a
नहीं
limitation
पाएंगे,
for the people
क्या
to
है शास्त्र को
understand
पढ़ ही नहीं पाएंगे,
the
उसका भाव,
Shastras.
उसका अर्थ, उसका
Now,
भावार्थ,
God,
ये
Lord
बहुत
had
दूर
been
की बात है।
extremely
इसलिए
merciful,
कृष्ण ने क्या
extremely
किया?
merciful that in the age of Kali Yuga,
कृष्ण
people would not be able to understand Lord
द्वापर युग
or
में
Him by the
भक्तों
study
के
of
साथ
Shastras,
सबसे निकट
and
रहकर
hence Lord
भक्तों के
Krishna
दिल से
made an
सबसे निकट
arrangement
राधा रानी,
that
सबसे
in the
प्यारी
age of
और
Dwapar,
सारे रस का आस्वादन करने वाली
most closely placed,
कृष्ण
most closely
के यात्रा
associated to
रात्रि का
Lord Krishna was
चैतन्य
none
महाप्रभु
other
ने
than
जैसे विवरण
Srimati
किया
Radha
है,
Rani, and hence Lord
हमें रामायण
Krishna
से भी काम नहीं बनेगा।
himself in the form
और
of
फिर कृष्ण के साथ बहुत सारी गोपी आती है,
Radha Rani and himself
कुंजरी आती है,
came
जो
to
कृष्ण
the
और
earth
राधा के
in the
प्रेम
form
को
of Chaitanya
दर्शाती है।
Charitamrut. Now,
और
along
वो
with
राधा और
Radharani and
कृष्ण भाव
Krishna,
को
there were many
गहराई से
gopis
जानने वाली
who were very well aware of
सखियों
the
को,
association love
मंजरियों को, किंकरियों को
of
कृष्ण ने कलयुग में
both
उत्पन्न किया।
Radharani and Shri Krishna.
और
So,
कृष्ण के
along
निकट
with
रहने वाली
Radharani
गोपियों
and
की
Krishna,
सखियां,
the
किंकरियां,
gopis
मंजरियां
and the sakhis
धरती पर
also appear on the
साधु
earth
संत बनकर आए।
in the form of saints and
उन साधु
sadhus.
संतों के सानिध्य में रहकर
And
सीधा सीधा हम लोग
under
समझे
the guidance
तो
and
भगवान के भाव के
association of such
रस
sadhus and
हम
saints,
आसानी
we
से
would be
समझ
able
सकते
to
हैं।
understand the mellows
और
of the
जितना हम
Lord,
वो समझ लिए,
the
उतना भगवान
elements
के निकट
of the
चले गए।
Lord. So the more we
समझ में आ रहा है?
understand the elements,
सो
more
भगवान की
closely we shall be
बहुत कृपा हुई,
placed with the Lord.
उन्होंने
And
अपने
that in
निकटतम
today's
पार्षद,
time,
अपने
in
नजदीक के
today's age
गोपियों
of
को,
Kali Yuga, would be
मनोहर गोपी
possible
किंकरियों को
by way of
साधा संत के रूप
associating
में धरती पर भेजा
ourselves with the saints and sadhus
और
and
उन्होंने भगवान
listening
कृष्ण की
to
धाम
the
लीलाओं को
katha
सुना,
of the Lord
गोपियां सखियां
by these sadhus and saints.
वे छह साधु के रूप, वैसे बहुत सारे लेकिन मुख्य रूप से
So
छह
there
साधु,
had been numerous
सिक्स साधु के रूप में
sadhus and saints who had appeared on this earth, but
और
prominently there are six
आपके सामने
amongst
स्क्रीन पे आप
them.
देख सकते
So
हैं।
the six major saints and
और
sadhus
ये
who appeared on the earth to help us
जो गॉड ने
reach the
किया
Lord,
है,
understand the elements of the Lord.
भगवान
These
श्री
six
कृष्ण
Goswamis
तत्व से
in
समझने
our
के लिए
Gaudiya
ग्रंथ काफी नहीं है,
stream.
उस ग्रंथों का भाव, सार, रस,
So you see,
पूरा
just
फूल से
like
मधु को निकालकर हमें रेडीमेड हनी शहद दे देता है
just like a
और हमारे
honeybee
पास हो, हम उसमें से
extracts
लेकर
all the honey
निकल
from a
नहीं जाते
flower and offers it to us.
ये सब भंवरों में मिक्सचर हो
Similarly,
रहे यहाँ पे
these six Goswamis are just like the honeybees who
ये
have
वैष्णव जन
extracted
निकटतम
all the
ये
nectar
सखिया मंजरिया क्या
from
है
the
इस
Shastras
कलयुग में 500
for
वर्ष पूर्व
us so that we
आपको
are able
दिखाया
to understand
इन्होंने
the Lord,
श्री
understand the elements of the
कृष्ण के
Lord,
निकटतम
and they gave
भाव का
us the
रस
pure
महत्व का
devotion
ज्ञान प्रदान किया
so that we would be closely associated with the
वश में
Lord.
रहकर
So, under
उनके
the
अधीन
guidance
में
and
रहकर
tutelage
हम
of these six
कृष्ण को समझने का
Goswamis, if
प्रयास
we make an
करें
attempt to understand
श्रीमद्
Krishna,
नारायण और कृष्ण
then
के
for
निकटतम
sure
स्थान
we shall understand the elements of the Lord, the mellows of the Lord, and we shall be
इनमें
placed
से
very
एक
closely
है,
associated with the
मैं
Lord.
आपको उनका परिचय
One
देना
amongst the
चाहूंगा।
prominent six Goswamis are, as mentioned on the screens before
श्रील
you,
मंजरी ख्याता यासित वृंदावने पुरा साध्य रूपाख्य गौस्वामी भूत्वा प्रकटता मियात भूत्वा प्रकटता श्लोक में आप देख सकते हैं प्रमाण के साथ वृंदावन
in the shloka,
युग
it
में
is mentioned that
माने पहले माने कलयुग के पहले द्वापर युग तो पूरा वृंदावन है द्वापर युग में वृंदावन में यासित
in the age of Dwapar,
कौन
at
कौन रहते थे
Vrindavan,
तो कहते
used
श्री
to stay.
रूप मंजरी ख्याता
So
रूप
the shloka
मंजरी
says,
नाम
in
की
the
एक
age of
सखी एक
Dwapar,
कुमारी रहती थी
there used to be a Sakhi
और
by
रूप
the name
मंजरी
of Roop Manjari
राधा
at
रानी के
Vrindavan.
निकट रहती थी
And
राधा
this
रानी की
Sakhi,
सेवा में रहते
Roop
थे
Manjari, was extremely
विलाप पुस्तकों में
closely associated with
बड़ी बड़ी बातें हैं
Srimati Radha
अगर
Rani.
ऊंचा मन रख कर न सुने तो इसमें हम अपराध भी कर सकते हैं इसलिए कभी कभी कुछ बातें तो हम टाल ही देते हैं भगवान श्री कृष्ण
Lord Krishna,
श्रीमती राधा रानी के साथ माधुर्य मंडित लीला करते थे
Lord Krishna had been
श्रीमती राधा
engaged
रानी
in
साथ
Madhur Leela,
आस्वादन करते थे लेकिन
in
शरीर
Madhur
में
Mellow.
फेरफार शरीर का बदलाव राधा की सखी रूप मंजरी को होता था आनंद राधा को मिल रहा है कृष्ण के
The
साथ
pleasure
राधा
which
कितना
Srimati
आनंद है
Radharani
कृष्ण
would
के साथ
enjoy in the
रहने का
company of
लेकिन राधा को
Lord
ये
Krishna,
आनंद
but
रूप मंजरी को मिलता था
the same
तदात्म्य था
pleasure was
पूर्ण अभिन्न था
experienced
श्रीमती राधा रानी में
by
कितने
Srimati
प्रेम
Roop
भाव से वो
Manjari.
निकट सखी थी
So the
जिसके
point that I
साथ
want
रूप
to
मंजरी
get across is that Roop Manjari
भक्तजन
Sakhi
के जीवन
was
में
very,
कृष्ण
very
को
closely
निकट से यदि
associated
समझना हो
with
तो ये गोपियां
Srimati
राधा रानी ये
Radharani.
सखियां ही हैं जो कृष्ण को निकट से हमें समझा
So if
सकती
we
हैं
attempt to
तो
understand Lord
दूसरी तरफ
Krishna
शास्त्र के प्रमाण
in
के
the real
अनुसार
sense of the
ये
term and also
सबसे
by way of
सबसे
elements,
कौन ऊपर
it is
पर है
these
तो
gopis
वो
who
है
can
श्री
help us
रूप मंजरी
understand.
तो द्वापर युग
So the
में
shloka
राधा की
says
निकटतम सखी रूप
that
मंजरी
in the
सह
age of Dwapar
समंत
at Vrindavan,
रूप
Rup
मंजरी
Manjari
सखिया
Sakhi was
कभी कभी
extremely closely
समंत इस
associated
कलयुग में
with Srimati
रूप
Radha Rani.
राय
And
गोस्वामी
hence, in the
रूपाख्य
age of Kali Yuga,
रूप
in the age of
गोस्वामी के रूप
Kali,
में प्रकट हुई है
Rup Manjari Sakhi
राधा
appeared
रानी
on
की
the earth
निकटतम
in the age of
रूप
Kali
मंजरी
Yuga
सखी रूप
in the
गोस्वामी
form
के
of
रूप में
Rup
प्रकट हुई
Goswami.
भूतवा प्रकटतामियात
So Rup Manjari Sakhi of the age of
जब
Dwapar, who had been
जब मैं
closely
रूप गोस्वामी
associated
की बात
with
करता हूँ
Srimati Radha
ऐसे ऐसे
Rani, appeared in the
श्री
age
गोपी
of
गोपी
Kali
सखिया साथ
in the form of Rupa Goswami. So we must understand that many a gopis and sakhis of Lord Krishna and Srimati Radharani appeared
श्री रूप
in the age of
गोस्वामी जी
Kali Yuga,
आचार्य
in
का
the age of
तिरोभाव
Kali.
दिन है। कई वर्षों तक इस धरती में रहे, मानव समाज
So
को
today
कृष्ण
is
प्रेम
the
भजन भक्ति
disappearance
का
day of
पूर्ण ज्ञान
Rup
दिया है,
Goswami.
कृष्ण ने भागवत में दिया है।
So
लेकिन उस ज्ञान को उनको
he was
प्रकट करना
engaged
नहीं
in
आया,
the
ज्ञान को
service of the
उनको
Lord
प्रकट किया
in the age of Kali for
श्री
quite a
रूप
long
गोस्वामी
time,
जी।
and that he
देखो इनका
presented
जन्म
the pure
दक्षिण भारत
devotional
के एक ब्राह्मण
service
के घर पर हुआ।
towards Lord
इनके
Krishna.
नाम दो भाई थे,
He was born in South
संतोष
India. There were actually two brothers, Amar and Santosh,
और
and
ये
Rup
इतने
Goswami was the younger one.
इतने
And
बड़े
he was
ज्ञानी
such a
थे
great
कि उस
scholar
समय
and
वहां के
intellect
राजा हुसैन
that
शाह ने
the Hussein
इस
Shah, who
विषय को
was the king
मंत्रणा
of
पर रख दिया।
Bengal at that point of time,
हुसैन शाह
that
ने
Rup
मंत्रणा
Goswami
पर इसका
ji was
शासन कर लिया
offered a ministerial birth at the
लेकिन
court of Hussein Shah.
चैतन्य महाप्रभु से मिलकर
But
सब कुछ
gradually and
परिवर्तन कर
eventually,
दिया।
Rup Goswami, when he
महाप्रभु को
met
पकड़ा
Chaitanya Mahaprabhu,
और
leaving
महाप्रभु ने
everything
जो समय
aside,
ये सब
Rup
सिखाया,
Goswami
अभी
left
कभी हम सुनेंगे
Bengal and
कि
reached
महाप्रभु
Vrindavan.
गोस्वामी ने जो हमें दिया है ना, अद्भुत।
But you see, Rup Goswami ji,
एक बार क्या
whatever
हुआ,
he has
मैं तो
given
कहीं गया
us
और मेरी कार
is
पास में कोई स्पीकर लगा हुआ था।
remarkable. You know, once I went somewhere and somebody
कोई चोरी कर गया।
robbed off all my sound system, my
ऐसी तो जीवन
projector
में
from
कभी
my
चोरी
car.
होती नहीं, लेकिन जीवन में एक
Though
ही बार किसी ने
usually
चोरी की हो।
I have never been robbed off,
एक प्रवचन कर रहे, गाड़ी का
but
कांच फोड़
it
करके
so happened first
सामान
time
निकाल रहे
that
थे।
I went to some other floor and somebody broke open my car and my entire sound
आप लोग
system
चिंता मत करो, अमेरिका में तो ऐसा होता नहीं है,
and took away.
लेकिन भारत में
Actually, this
ऐसा होता
happened
है।
in India.
फिर मैं आया, देखा कांच फूटा हुआ है, चलो गया, ईश्वर की यही इच्छा होगी।
I took it
लेकिन
as
हमारे दोस्तों में से किसी ने कहा कि नहीं नहीं प्रभु,
the
पुलिस
wish
वाले
of the
को
Lord.
देखनी
But
चाहिए।
somebody urged
मैंने
me
कहा मैं तो
to
पुलिस वाले
register
को
a
देख देख के डर गया।
complaint
कि हर
to
टाइम पे
police.
ऐसे बंदूक तोप लेकर
And
खड़ा
I
रहे तो
personally am
इंसान
very
डरता है।
scared of the
और आप
cops.
कहते हो पुलिस स्टेशन में
And you
जाके
want
मैं
me
कंप्लेंट
to
कराऊं,
go
बंदूक
and
लेकर।
register a complaint
नहीं
to the
नहीं नहीं नहीं,
police.
मैं जानता हूँ पुलिस वालों को, आप चिंता
Now,
मत करो,
that
इसका
friend
काम
of
है तो करना ही है, क्या
mine
नहीं पता।
said that he knows
उसी
certain
कड़ी में
people
एक
in the
बार पुलिस
police
स्टेशन गया
station, and hence for
कि
the
ये
first
ऐसा है।
time I went to the
तो
police
मैं गया
station
स्टेशन
to report this
और फिर वो मुझे पूछ रहे थे
incident. Now, the
क्या
policemen
लिखा
were
है आपका,
asking me
ये सब
certain
लिखते थे,
questions, and I was answering
कि सामान था
and giving the
क्या क्या
description
सामान था,
how
मुझे
my
बताते
car looked like, what was the number, and what were the
तो
things that
मेरे
have
दिल में
got
कुछ वैसा
stolen
ही
and
आया। अब वो दो
thieved.
तीन पुलिस वाले 1 घंटा 2 घंटा
Now,
सब लोग आपस में मिलकर
I
घुस
gave every
रहे और मैंने
description,
सुना।
but then I saw all the policemen
मुझे वहां से एक बहुत अच्छा पॉइंट मिला,
were
मैं आपसे शेयर करना
making
चाहूंगा।
some discussions amongst
वो
them
पुलिस
for
वाले
two,
बहुत
three
अच्छी बात हो
hours.
रही थी, जानते हैं आप।
But one thing that I really liked,
देखते
or
हैं
one
आप, मुझे
thing
याद
that
याद
I
नहीं है
learned
उनका
something
नाम,
from
आप आस
them
पास मार्क मत कीजिए, एक बार
was
पूछ लीजिएगा
really
जब।
very interesting.
पुलिस ने
Now, I do
एक
not know
एक
the,
चेकिंग
I
पे
do not recall the
340
clause,
धारा लगेगी,
but then one policeman was
दूसरे
like
कहते हैं कि
that
306
section
धारा लगेगी।
303 would be
तो
applicable. The other
आप
one
उसको
said,
क्या करें,
no,
दोनों
the
पुलिस वाले
other
बोले कि ये 304
section
का
would
है,
be
दूसरा बोले
applicable.
306।
For example, if somebody said
दोनों
section
चेक कर रहे थे।
304 applies in this situation, the other one
और
said no,
अगर वो गाड़ी
305.
की होती, गाड़ी
So
की
some
होती
other
और
one
टक्कर कर रही
person,
थी
some other
तो
cop said,
304
policeman
धारा
said
लगती।
that had the
लेकिन दरवाजा नहीं खोला,
robbery taken place by
कांच अंदर से
opening of
चोरी है,
the gate of the
तो जो बंदा
car.
कांच फोड़ के
So
चोरी
a
करेगा वो
particular
भाई जाएगा
section,
जेल।
let's say
इसलिए भी
305 would
304 का
apply.
मोटा चौपड़ा
But
निकाला
he
था,
said, see,
किताब खोल
because
दी, वो
the
खोल के
robbery had
तैयार
taken
कर ली,
place by
और
breaking
लोग जो होते ना
the glass window,
उसमें से देखा और
and hence
उसमें लिखा
303 or
था
304 would be
306।
applicable. And now they brought down the
कहने का
law
मतलब
book
ये है
and they were
कि
discussing which
छोटा सा
particular
अपराध
section
करने के लिए
of
उसमें भी लॉ होता
the
है,
code
कानून
of
होता है
the
कि
law shall
पुलिस की
apply. So
सहायता
the
से
point is not that I want to narrate the event of
बच जाएगा।
a
तो आप
robbery,
सोचिएगा,
but the point that I want to
दुनिया
get
भर में
across is
कहते हैं
just as
कि
to
कृष्ण
run a
प्रेम भजन
small
महापुरुष
administration, you
हैं,
need
हम
to have
प्रभु को
certain
भक्ति
laws and
करते हैं,
codes.
ये किस बात के
Similarly,
तहत करते
when
हैं,
we engage ourselves in
इसको
devotional
बताना पड़ेगा
service,
ये सब क्यों, ये
we
सब
offer
क्यों करते
flowers or
हैं।
that we offer
आपको याद
bhoga
है
or that we
आपको याद है
offer
कि
deep,
हम
etc.
प्रणाम क्यों करते
Under
हैं,
what law, under what
हम
section,
हाथ क्यों
under
जोड़ते
what
हैं,
command do
हम
we do
हाथ जोड़ के
that? Why
पंचांग
do we offer
नमस्कार करते हैं,
Ashtanga Pranam? Why do we offer
किसके
Panchang Pranam? So
अंतर्गत,
under what code,
भगवत
under
गीता
what
के
law,
अंतर्गत इनका ये कार्य
all
है,
these
इसे
devotional
बहुत
service
डिफाइन किया
or the patterns of devotional services are found. So you see, every element in every step of devotional service with illustration have been proven in texts. You see, the devotional service that we engage in is not just an emotional fit or sentimental activity. Many people consider those people
शास्त्र के
undergoing an emotional fit or a sentimental fit. Rather, every aspect of devotional service is governed by laws propounded by Srila Rupa Goswami and the text under which he has defined and given the codes of devotional service is Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu, Updeshamrit, Ujjwal Nirmani, Govind Lilamrit. What wonderful texts Rupa Goswami has presented before us. Also, he has written numerous commentaries on Shrimad Bhagavatam. And you see, any individual who wants to engage in devotional service, for such an individual, Srila Rupa Goswami has presented wonderful texts. So this was one of the six Goswamis amongst the six Goswamis.
श्री रूप गोस्वामी महाराज
All glories to Srila Rupa Goswami.
उनके जीवन की एक घटना भी है, आप देख सकते हैं। ये वृंदावन में बैठकर ये सब लॉ लिख रहे थे, ये सब सारी चीज हम
There
मानव
is one incident of his material life. He was written the text at Brij Vrindavan, and it so happened at that time that his elder brother Sri Sanatan Goswami, who also went on to adopt a sannyas later on. Now, when his elder brother arrived, he had this thought that I should offer some sweet rice to my elder brother, but there was no sugar, there was no milk, there was no rice. So now, you see, he was quite in a perplexed state of mind. He is a saint after all. He would never stay at a place for more than 2 days. Such a cautious saint he was there. Why? Because if he would stay at a place for more than 2 days, there would develop some attachment and some feeling of possession. So he always led a life of austerity and detachment. He would, you see, sleep whatever was offered to him, and there was no choice. So his elder brother, Sri Sanatan Goswami, arrived and he had the desire to offer him sweet prasadam, but he had no sources. But you see, if there's a desire in the heart of a saint and a sadhu, and Sri Shyam Sundar would not make it happen, this is just impossible. So you see, Srimati Radha Rani herself descended from Vaikunt with the bowl of sweet rice herself to Rup Goswami. Now, Sri Rup Goswami asked Srimati Radharani that who you are, to which Srimati Radharani said that my mother had made some sweet rice and she had asked me to offer the kheer to some sadhu. Now, Srila Rup Goswami was very, very glad to receive the sweet rice, and in heart he was thanking the Lord that how merciful the Lord is that I desired sweet rice and I was able to have it. Now Rup Goswami offered the sweet rice to Sri Sanatan Goswami, and now Sanatan Goswami had it. Now when Sanatan Goswami had it, he's a saint after all. He can differentiate in the taste between the meal of the earth and the meal of Vaikunt. Now Sri Sanatan Goswami said, that tell me where exactly you got this sweet rice from. So Sri Rup Goswami narrated the entire story. Now Sanatan Goswami said, O Rup Goswami, that you have given such a pain to Lord Krishna, to Srimati Radharani, that she had to descend from heaven and bring the sweet rice for me. So there's a huge long story to this. The point that I want to get across is those saints and Goswamis, for whom Srimati Radharani would herself descend from Vaikuntha. You can only imagine the pure devotional service and sentiment. So such Srila Rup Goswami, upon today's day, he went to join the pure devotional service in Vaikuntha upon this day. Sri Narottam Goswami has written something about this in the shloka before you.
श्री रूप कृपाय मिले युगल चरण सुनिया छे साधु मुखे भले सर्वगण। बड़े बड़े साधु और बड़े बड़े लोग कहते हैं कि श्री रूप कृपाय मिले युगल चरण।
Highly exalted devotees and saints say that by the blessings of Rup Goswami, by the mercy of Rup Goswami, one can attain the mercy and blessings of Srila Radha Shyam Sundar. So such Srila Rup Goswami disappeared from the earth on today's day, and that he entered his eternal devotional service upon today's day. So I made an effort to get this across to each one of you. If by this story, some iota of love, affection, and devotion develops in your hearts towards Srila Rup Goswami, I would consider this as a success. So now, you see, let's move forward into the subject of our katha.
और इस श्रावण मास में
Beautiful Shravan month is running, which has wonderful festivals in itself. After some days, we have the festival of Raksha Bandhan. So in the glory of the month of Shravan, there's a huge glory attached to Raksha Bandhan. You see, in the age of Kali Yuga, the defense of an individual can be organized by feelings, emotions, and sentiments. You should not understand it narrowly that the defense for an individual can be organized only by way of, only with the help of weapons. No. You see, if you have the emotion, if you have the mood, then for sure, defense and protection can be given. For example, Ma Uttara had this feel and emotion for the protection of her child. And you see, he was given the protection in the womb because of a feeling, emotion, and mood. The tying of the Rakhi is just a symbol of the feeling and emotion. So the mood and the sentiment is more important with the Rakhi. So Rakhi is tied in the form of Rakhi. The first Rakhi, the foremost Rakhi was tied by a mother, and that mother was Subhadra, and the son was, or the brother was her son, Abhimanyu. So a mother can tie a Rakhi, there's no problem with that. Sister ties a Rakhi once in a year, but mother ties in fact every day. So as times changed, this Rakhi came to be tied by a wife to her husband, because the Kshatriya kings would be engaged in waging and fighting the wars. So when the wife would send her husband to wage and fight a war, she would tie a Rakhi with the wish and desire of victory. The first wife to tie a Rakhi was Devi Shachi upon her husband's wrist, Indra, Devraj Indra. So first mother who tied Rakhi to her son was Subhadra Maya, and the son was Abhimanyu. First wife who tied Rakhi was Shachi, and her husband to whom she tied the Rakhi was Devraj Indra. Much further, may Guru also tied Rakhi around the disciples' wrist. So it should not so happen that you should get a Rakhi tied in the form of a friendship band, but also a guru. And much further, even the disciples also started tying the rakhi around the wrists of the guru. So not just that the guru gives blessings, but also, you see, uh, it is not that the disciples alone would revere and respect the guru, but guru also gives mercy and blessings to.
में सबसे बड़ा उत्सव है राखी का। एक बहन अपने भाई को राखी बांधती है। ये प्रथा भी हमारे ऋषि
Category is where a sister ties the rakhi around her brother's wrist. This tradition, this custom was started by our ancestors because you see that sister is married to some other family and that she would be traveling to a different place. So this festival was brought into customs so that the sister, gets an opportunity to come back to her house and meet the brother, or that the brother can go and meet the sister. Now, some people have this query that we do not have a brother or sister, or that we stay far off from each other. But you see, the story that I have narrated to you, Srila Rup Goswami and his elder brother Sanatan Goswami,
कभी धूप तो कभी छाँव। आप भी बड़े कमा, आपकी लीला भी अद्भुत है।
So I present before you the shloka of Sanatan Goswami, the sister tying Rakhi to his brother, mother tying Rakhi to the son. So yes, you should get engaged in this custom, but then because you are now completely used to listening to something new, now the new element is that Sri Sanatan Goswami for his devotees gave a command. And what is that command?
व्रजराज कुमारत्वात् केचित् इच्छति साधव केचित् इच्छन्ति साधव। देखिए, बहुत सुंदर बात है। शायद आपने 2021 के पहले ये नहीं किया होगा, लेकिन अब अवश्य कीजिएगा।
So this is a very fresh thing that I'm sharing with you. You might not have engaged in, before 2021. So if you consider me as somebody who guides you, then this is the Guru Diksha. So try to understand this. Those who are the devotees of Hari, they should have a desire. What a desire? If you ask me, yes, there should be a desire. So those who are the devotees of Hari, they should have this desire.
हमारे भगवान, हमारे कृष्ण ब्रजराज हैं, कुमारत्वात्, वो कुमार अवस्था के हैं। इसलिए क्या करें? पौर्णमासी,
our king of bridge is quite young. So what is to be done? You see, Purnima and Balram Jayanti. So Balram Jayanti falls on the day of Purnima. You see, this is a very highly placed an element and mood. So you see, new devotees always have the mood that Hari should protect us. If Hari alone is required to protect you, is it not a possibility, or should it not also be like this, that we should also offer some protection to our Brij Raj? Can't we have a mood just like Nand Baba and Yashoda Maya, who consider Lord Krishna as this young son. And can't we also have a desire to give protection to our Lord as a young baby, as is seen by Nand Baba and Yashoda Maya? So the shloka says that we must attempt to offer protection, and we must try to protect our Lord, Lord Krishna, on the day of Purnima, for sure. No doubt that whatever has been the tradition in your family, that you have been engaged in protecting and defending your own family persons, but in order to progress in spiritual life, you must celebrate the festival of Raksha Bandhan with the Lord. You must celebrate the day of Raksha Bandhan with the Lord. So you see, amidst the pandemic crisis, movement is not a possibility. So you should always try to celebrate very wonderfully the festival at home. So Sri Sanatana Goswami was asked the methods, the way out, how to celebrate. So he gave wonderful options how to celebrate the festival. So Sanatana Goswami wrote a shloka in Bhavishyotter Puran. He quoted a shloka: when we tie the Rakhi to Lord, when we tie Rakhi to the Lord, this mantra should be recited. This shloka should be recited.
तेन त्वाम अभिबध्नामि रक्षे माचल माचल रक्षे माचल माचल। जैसे दैत्य सम्राट बलि
Just as the king of demons, Bali Maharaj, just as the king of demons, Bali Maharaj, was tied, similarly, O Lord Krishna, I am tying you in that Raksha Sutra. O Raksha Sutra, may you always remain intact in the wrist of Lord Krishna and always give protection to Lord Krishna. So, O Raksha Sutra, may you always remain stable and intact in the wrist of Lord Krishna and give protection to Lord Krishna. So, in the month of Shravan, on the day of Purnima, we celebrate the festival of Raksha Bandhan. There's another beautiful story of the month of Shravan. In the 12th canto of Shrimad Bhagavatam, in the 9th chapter, it is mentioned that there was a rishi, there was a saint by the name of Markandu, and he had a son. And he had a son, Markandeya. So Markandeya was the son of Markandu Rishi, and Saint Markandeya meditated very strongly for Narayan and did strong penance. So Markandeya Rishi was engaged in strong devotional service, meditation and penance to Lord Narayan. And Lord Narayan was very much pleased, and he gave his darshans to the Lord, to Rishi Markandeya, and gave the boon of devotional service. And Markandeya Rishi said, So Markandeya
जब
Rishi
भगवान
said,
माया को
"O
देखने
Lord,
लगता,
many a times people
बोले
say
भक्त क्या इच्छा पूरी
that
करते हैं,
you know
दुनिया की
your
माया से
illusion, your Maya
और इस आदमी
is
को
of
अपनी
different
माया दर्शन
types,
करना है।
and that I have a desire to
और इतना
understand your
दर्शन करके
Maya."
कहने की इच्छा कि तो राइट पात्र के पास,
And you see what a wonderful thing
क्यों?
to happen.
क्योंकि माया कैसी
Usually,
शक्ति है भक्त के ऊपर,
people attempt to stay away from Maya,
लेकिन माया स्वयं भगवान की शक्ति। भगवत गीता में क्या कहा, देवी
or
हेषा
illusory powers of the Lord.
माया,
Now, the best thing is
माया किसकी है?
that he is attempting to understand the illusory power which belongs to Lord Narayan. So,
सो प्रभु माया तो आपकी
Saint
शक्ति है,
Markandeya is
माया का
attempting
दर्शन
and
करो।
expressing a desire to understand illusory power of the Lord from the Lord himself.
ठीक है
Now,
साधु, कुछ दिन के बाद आपकी इच्छा
Rishi
पूरी होगी,
Markandeya is
भगवान
making a
बोले
wonderful desire
मार्कंडेय ऋषि भजन करने लगे।
before the
उनकी इच्छा
perfect person
पूर्ति
to
के बाद
understand illusory
मार्कंडेय
power.
ऋषि ने देखा
Lord Narayan
कि
gave the
भयंकर
boon, and
काल
that
है।
he would certainly experience and understand illusory power of the
उस
Lord.
काल में लोग
After some
डूबते
time,
हैं,
Rishi
जैसे
Markandeya
आकाश में एक सूर्य तत्व
had the
होता है, सनसेट हो
experience
जाता है,
that there
वैसे
is a
एक साधु
strong
भजन सुनने
famine
लगे
going on, and that there are
और जब
numerous
सूखा पड़ने लगा, बहुत
suns
भयंकर
in the
बारिश हुई
skies because of which
और
there is extreme
इतना
heat,
जल, इतना जल,
and
ऐसा जैसे कहते
eventually there
70%
are
पानी जल
incessant
है, 30%
rains,
पानी पृथ्वी है,
huge rains happening.
इतनी बारिश हुई
But the rains were
कि ये
so much and so heavy
समग्र
that
पृथ्वी
entire
जल
earth
में डूब गई।
started submerging under the waters.
तो
This
मार्कंडेय
was
ऋषि
the
ने देखा
experience experienced by
और
sage
मार्कंडेय ऋषि
Markandeya,
समुद्र में डूब गए,
and he
गोता
saw
मारने लगे,
that
कभी यहाँ
he
जाओ, कभी
himself
पानी
is
पीने
getting
गए,
drowned
पानी
in the
पीने गए,
waters.
किसी को तैरना नहीं आता और गहरे पानी में चला जाए
So he was
तो
also
डूब
getting
मरेगा,
drowned
आ नहीं
in the
पाएगा, तो क्या
waters.
करेगा, पानी पी जाएगा। मार्कंडेय ऋषि समुद्र
So
में
sage
गए, इतना
Markandeya
पानी पी गए, गोता मारने लगे, कभी ऊपर कभी
was
नीचे,
getting so heavily drowned and struggling to save himself, but he was
और
unsuccessful.
फिर
And ultimately,
ऐसा करते 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 बहुत समय बीता और इसके मन में
long
भयंकर
time
दुख
passed
होते,
by
मुझे कुछ
in
नहीं
such a
दिखाई नहीं दे रहा,
situation,
आदमी न कोई शक्ति
and
है,
Sage Markandeya
सब
was
कुछ खत्म होने
contemplating
लगा
where has he been
मार्कंडेय, पूरी
fixed,
धरती डूब गई है, जल ही जल।
and he saw water and water
लेकिन
everywhere.
मार्कंडेय ऋषि ने क्या देखा,
And just
बहुत सुंदर बात है।
amongst the situation of
मार्कंडेय
that
ने
strong
एक
destruction
स्थान
and
देखा,
floods and waters,
अब
he
समुद्र के बीच में एक
got
छोटा
to
सा
see a
जमीन,
very
भूमि
small
मैदान, और
place,
उस भूमि
a
पर एक
small
वृक्ष
piece
था
of land, and that there was a
उस वृक्ष
tree on this
और मार्कंडेय गए
piece of
और
land. There was
कैसे
a
उस
tree,
वृक्ष के नीचे आ गए
and somehow
और उस
Sage
वृक्ष के जो
Markandeya
बड़े बड़े
managed
पत्ते
to
थे
reach that piece of land and placed
और
himself
वो
under that
एक छोटा
tree.
सा लड़का था,
And
वो
on
देखो
that tree, he
हमारे भाइयों को
located
क्या
a
धन्यवाद
tree,
देना होगा, उन्होंने जो एंगल लिया है,
and
जिस
on
एंगल से
one
उन्होंने
of the
उसको
leaves
लिया है,
of that tree, he
अद्भुत।
was able to locate a
बहुत अच्छा
small
काम किया,
boy.
मैंने तो वहां
And
से अवार्ड दिया।
you see,
अब देखो
you
ये
can see this on the screens
बातें
before
देखे
you.
हुए हैं
Wonderful thanks to
और
Govind TV.
ऊपर
So you
वो
see,
वटवृक्ष
there
उसका
is Sage
पेड़ है,
Markandeya who is
उसकी डालियों
in the
में एक एक
waters,
पत्ता है
and
और
he
उस पत्ते
saw
में एक एक
on the
बच्चा
branch
बैठा
of the
हुआ है।
tree there is
मार्कंडेय अभी भी
a
सोच रहे
leaf
कि अरे
on
ये
which
क्या
there's a very
कर रहा है,
small boy. Now,
दुनिया तो
Sage
डूब गई,
Markandeya could not even understand what is this going around him,
अब
and how
यहाँ
come
दृश्य
a
देखकर
small young boy be on that small
भगवान
leaf.
कह दिया,
Now,
जो
looking at this scene,
मानते हो।
Bilva Mangal
आइए
Thakur went on
सभी
to
दोनों
say
हाथ जोड़कर
something
बिल्वा मंगल
that
की
each one of us
मार्कंडेय
sing
ऋषि
every day, and it is before you on your screens at the bottom, the shloka. Let us all try to recite this shloka.
पदारविन्दे न पदारविन्दम् मुखारविन्दे विनिवेशयन्तम् वटस्य पत्रस्य पुटे शयानम् बालं मुकुन्दं मनसा
So you see, we do recite this sloka every day, but this is the context of this sloka, that amidst destruction, when everything had been destroyed, sage Markandeya saw a tree, and on one of the branch of the tree he located the leaf, and on that leaf there was a young
बहुत सुंदर भक्तों, ऐसा योग तो फिजिकल कथा में भी नहीं मिलता, जो आप घर बैठे हैं, एक फोटो भी है, श्लोक भी है,
an experience is not even possible in a face-to-face katha.
कहाँ ये सब मिलता है? आप ये यजमानों का धन्यवाद करो, पटेल.
So each one of us should extend our thanks to Patel family, Chand family, because of whose efforts we have been able to get this beautiful, experience. Whenever even I see such pictures, I also develop a lot of mood in devotional service. Now, focusing upon the meaning of the shloka. So Arvind means lotus and Kar means hands. So Kararvind means the lotus hands. The lotus hands, the hands as tender as the lotus, as beautiful as the lotus. So the lotus hands of Lord Krishna So from the lotus hands, the meaning goes like this. From the lotus hands, from the lotus hands. So the hands which are just like the lotus. So what is Lord Krishna doing from his hands which are as soft as lotus? So Lord Krishna, from his lotus hands, so from the soft lotus-like hands, Lord Krishna has held his lotus-like feet. Just make an attempt if you guys can do it. Those who are engaged in yoga can certainly do it, but those who are not used to yoga perhaps would be entangled and will have to be freed by 4 people at least. So what is Lord Krishna doing? Lord Krishna, whose hands and feet are as soft and tender as lotus, so he has got hold of his feet from his hands, and then what is he doing? Let me zoom in and show it out to you. Now you can see it more closely and beautifully. You see, Sage Markandeya, who is getting drawn from such a long time, is just mesmerized and amazed to see such a scene. So from the lotus hands, who has got hold of his lotus feet, and then what is he doing? And even the face and the mouth is also as soft and beautiful like lotus, and brought his lotus feet nearer to lotus-like face. And then what did he do further? And gave the entry to the toe of the lotus feet into the mouth. So you should only watch it, but don't make an attempt, otherwise your waist would go out of order. Kids can certainly try. So holding the feet by his lotus hands, brought the lotus feet towards his mouth, and let the toes of his feet enter the mouth. And then
सदा सदा के लिए मेरे मन में स्मरण होता रहे, मैं ईश्वर से यही आशीर्वाद मांगता हूँ।
the one who is on the tree branch, such the form of the Lord, I wish I always remember in my mind and heart. So now Sage Markand caught hold of the tree, and then Lord asked what Sage Markand had been doing there. Sage Markand said, it is at that point of time, Lord said to Sage Markand, that sometime back you had a desire to experience my illusory powers. This is nothing but my illusory power. Now Sage Markanda expressed apology that he does not anymore wants to see the illusory power, and that is when Lord Krishna brought everything to normalcy. So basically it was an illusory plot created by the Lord for the desire of sage Markanda. This story is mentioned in Shrimad Bhagavatam. I wonder why people do not exhibit this katha. Now, where does the month of Shravan and the entry of Shivji comes? Now let us understand that. So, what happens now? After Sage Markanda come back to normalcy at the mercy of the Lord, so he continued with his devotional service at his heart. Now, there's the story that Sage Markanda has come back to normalcy after having understood the illusory power of the Lord. Around the same time, you see, Sud Goswami mentions around the same time from the path of skies. So Sri Sud Goswami goes on to mention, which is there on your screens, the shloka.
श्री सुद गोस्वामी कहते हैं,
Sri Sud Goswami goes on to say that Sage Markanda was sitting, and exactly at the same time, from the skies on the Nandi bull, so just as Sage Markanda was meditating upon the name of the Lord around the same time from the skies, Lord Shiva and his consort on Nandi Bear, on Nandi Bull, were passing by from the skies. And also along with Lord Shiva and the consort, the other associates of Lord Shiva were also passing by. So the situation is from the sky path, from the air path. You see, Lord Shiva and Parvati were traveling around the air on the Nandi bull along with his associate. So for your information, around the time of evening Devi Parvati and Lord Shiva along with his associates go around in the skies. It is at that time that Devi Parvati got to see Sage Markanda, who was involved in meditation. In this manner, Sage Markanda was continuously engaged in devotional service, and he had already been a witness to illusory powers. So in that sense, he was extremely engaged in the devotional service. So before I move on, let me share with you the moral of the story.
भागवत की अनेकों कथा सुनी,
Otherwise, we might miss that in the flow. So you see, we must never make a mistake. We must not remain under misconception. You see, 90% of the people worship Lord Shiva for material desires. So they engage in devotional service of Lord Shiva for material desires. You see, this is a demonic act. This is a demonic mellow that if you worship Lord Shiva only for material desires, this is demonic act. You see the history, Ravan, Hiranyakashipu, they all engaged in the devotional service of Lord Shiva only for material desires. So I urge each one of you to engage in devotional service of Lord Shiva, but only with the sole objective, but only with a desire. And whom does Lord Shiva has strong love and affection to? Recall, Ravan was a very staunch devotee of Lord Shiva. But Lord Shiva never loved Ravan. He never had love and affection towards Ravan. Had that been the case, he would have protected Ravan. So there are two things that you must understand, that what you should desire from Lord Shiva and whom does Lord Shiva has strong love and affection for. Now, Parvati ji, Shivji, and the associates were going on from the skies, and the sage is meditating upon the Lord's name. Now, as Parvati ji saw the saint, she urged Lord Shiva that, "Oh Lord, this sage is engaged in strong devotional service. I'm feeling so pity and merciful upon him. So I urge you to offer him something or the other at least. I feel so pity on him." So Devi Parvati is urging Shiva to offer him something or the other. And now the answer is given by Lord Shiva. So it is there in the shloka before you. So here Lord Shiva answers and replies to Devi Parvati. Lord Shiva says,
मोक्ष अपि युत भक्तिम पराम भगवती लब्धवान कितनी बड़ी बात। शिव जी को डंके की चोट पर विश्वास है, शिव जी को 100,000% कॉन्फिडेंस है। जब पार्वती ने कहा कि साधु को कुछ दे दो, तो शिव जी क्या कहते हैं?
so when Devi
नमामि
Parvati,
देवी, तुम कहोगे तो मैं उसके पास जाऊंगा और दूंगा,
Lord
लेकिन
Shiva
तुम
said,
मत देना
"O Devi
कि ये मुझसे
Parvati,
कुछ नहीं मांगेगा।
that because you're insisting, so I would certainly go and offer him something, but let me assure you that he would not desire anything from me. He would not ask anything from me." Then Devi Parvati said that at least he would ask for liberation. He would at least ask for moksha. Lord Shiva said he won't even ask for liberation or even moksha.
तार रे भूतल भगति पदार्थ मोटू, भूतल भगति पदार्थ मोटू, स्वर्ग लोक नाही रे, भूतल भगति पदार्थ।
Narsi Mehta said that the devotees of Hari never even ask for liberation. Narsi Mehta said that liberation or mukti is a slave, is a maid. So the devotees of Hari do not even desire liberation, rather they ask for birth again and again so that they can engage in devotional service. So Lord Shiva here says to Devi Parvati that he would not have any desire, neither he would ask for liberation. But Devi Parvati said that the people of this material world always keep on asking something or the other, have huge desires. How is it possible that this sage would not desire anything, not even liberation?
क्योंकि भक्तिम पराम
So Lord Shiva in the second line says and explains that he would not desire anything from me. He would not even desire any liberation from me because he is not my devotee. He is devotee of Lord Krishna, Lord Narayan. Because only my devotees desire something or the other of the material world. But the devotees of Lord Krishna and Lord Narayan only look forward for devotion, a devotional service without any desire, without anything. He is engaged in devotional service of the Lord and he has attained the pure devotional service already. And that's why he would not ask anything from me. So it's like, this entire conversation is just happening in the skies, that the flight, Nandi, is stationed in the skies. Lord Shiva is explaining that Sage Markandeya would not desire anything, while Parvati ji insists that for sure he will ask something. So this conversation is going in the skies where Nandi is stationed in the air. So Lord Shiva says he would not desire anything, he would not ask anything, but still I will descend down and I will engage in a conversation with Sage Markandeya, because engaging in the conversation with such a saint, engaging in a conversation and meeting a saint of Lord Hari and Krishna in itself is a wonderful achievement and a great feat. In this world, for a human being, association of the sadhus, company of the saints is a very big feat. And hence I would descend down and I would meet him and engage in some conversation, though I know he would not desire anything from me. Now Parvati Maya says that, "O Prabhu, O Lord, we must descend down now and meet the sage Markandeya." So Nandiji is now landing down at the ashram of sage Markandeya. The associates of Lord Shiva are also descending down. Sage Markandeya is also sitting in the ashram meditating upon the Lord. Now Sage Markandeya comes out and you see Sage Markandeya has also just had the experience of illusory power of the Lord, and Lord Shiva has now descended down and Sage Markandeya is continuously engaged in chanting of the holy name of the Lord with his eyes closed. Now Lord Shiva indicated to Parvati, "Look, O Devi Parvati, he has not even opened his eyes and looked at us. Let us go back." Devi Parvati says, "Wait, he would certainly listen and open his eyes." Time passed by, but the sadhu did not even, Sage Markandeya did not even open the eyes. Now, Sage Markandeya was engaged in meditating upon the name of the Lord with his eyes closed. So now, Lord Shiva took a microform and he entered into the meditation of Sage Markandeya. And now Sage Markandeya, who is meditating, in his meditation he saw that clad in the deer skin with the ashes smeared on his body, he saw Lord Shiva and opened his eyes. So the form in which he saw, the form of Lord Shiva, same form was presented before Sage Markandeya, and he expressed his greetings and welcome to Lord Shiva, that he had been really grateful that he had darshans of Lord Shiva. Now Lord Shiva said, "What is there on your screens?" Lord Shiva said to Markandeya. So Lord Shiva is saying this to Sage Markandeya, that whatever desire that you have,
जो भी कामना है, जो भी इच्छा है,
whatever wish you have, seek from me.
तुमको तुम्हारे मन चाहिए इच्छा पूर्ण, और मेरे से ज्यादा मेरी पत्नी की
I
इच्छा।
offer you whatever you desire and wish, and more than me, strong is the urge of Devi Parvati to offer you something that you wish and desire.
जो आप चाहते हो मांगो,
So whatever you wish, whatever you desire,
आप सब कुछ दे
please
सकते
ask
हो।
from me.
बोले हाँ, अमोघ
Sage
रूप
Markandeya
शीश
said
दीशा,
and
हे
questioned
ऋषि
to Lord Shiva
शिव हूँ और
that, oh
शिव
Lord,
का दर्शन
you
अमोघ
can
है।
offer everything. Lord Shiva said,
तव
yes.
दर्शनम येषा
O sage
वरदव्य
Markandeya, I can
हरिप्रिय।
offer you anything that you desire.
हमारा दर्शन जो है ना,
Lord
वो
Shiva said,
आप जो भी मांगोगे आप
whatever you shall desire and wish from me, I will make it happen.
तब
Then at this point of time,
मार्कंडेय ऋषि कहे कि आप मुझे ये सब बिना कुछ मांगे आप इतने फिदा क्यों हो रहे हैं,
then
इतनी मेहरबानी कैसे?
Sage Markandeya said that, how come and why at
आप
all
मुझे क्यों देना चाहते
you
हैं?
are
तब
having
अद्वैत
such a strong desire to offer me
स्वामी
something
कहते हैं,
or wish
शिव
me
जी
any desire
अरे
of mine?
तुम
Now,
ब्राह्मण
Lord
हो,
Shiva
तुम ब्राह्मण हो,
answers Sage Markandeya and he says
आप
that because you're a Brahmin, because
गुरुकुल में जन्म लेने
you're a
वाले
Brahmin,
और मत कर लेना, जन्म से ब्राह्मण नहीं, कर्म से ब्राह्मण, ब्राह्मणिकल कर्म करते हो और ब्रह्म जाना ही
now
ब्राह्मण है।
I want to add on here,
जानते हो
not that you are to be born in a
मैं
family
तुम्हें
of
सीधा
Brahmins,
ये हो गया,
rather your
समझाना
work and
इसलिए
your conduct should
कि
be like a
कोई बोले
Brahmin.
तुम ब्राह्मण हो,
So
दूसरा
Lord
बोले
Shiva
संसार
continues
में
further and
तुम
says
साधु हो,
that because you're a Brahmin and
संसार में
secondly that you are quite
साधु
simple, down to earth and humble.
शांत,
Third reason that Lord Shiva said that
तुम्हारी
because you're
सारी
calm,
इंद्रियां
composed and
तुम्हारे
content,
कंट्रोल में है,
because all your sensory organs are under
डिटेल्स
your
का डिटेल्स
control.
हो,
Thirdly, and very
सूक्ष्म
importantly, Lord
मटेरियल
Shiva goes on to
सूक्ष्म
say to Sage
सूक्ष्म
Markand that
असूक्ष्म
you are quite
निरंतर,
detached, you are evolved.
और मैं तुम पर मेहरबान हूँ, इसका
And
दूसरा
also, Lord
कारण
Shiva said that
बहुत
why am I
सूक्ष्म
being merciful on you is because of the fact
कि
that,
महाराज
oh, Sage Markandeya,
संसार के जीवों को प्रेम करते हो,
that
संसार के जीव के
because
प्रति
you love
शुभ भावना मंगल
the
भावना
people of
रखते
this
हो,
world,
मतलब जीव
you
हिंसा से प्रेम
have
करता नहीं
strong love and
नहीं,
affection
आप
for the
एकांत
individuals of this world.
क्योंकि
You do
तुम
not engage in
एकांत
violence.
हो,
And
एकांत
sixth
मतलब
reason that Lord
निष्काम भाव,
Shiva says
शुद्ध
that you are
भाव
a very strong, pure
और
devotee.
अस्मासु निर्वेरा, तुम्हारा किसी से वैर नहीं है,
And
किसी
the
से भी
next
वैर
reason
नहीं
Lord
है,
Shiva says that why he
तुम
wants to
समदर्शी हो,
grant
सबके
any
प्रति
wish or
समदृष्टि
desire
रखते हो,
of Sage Markandeya,
इसी कारण से
because you do not have any enmity with anyone.
तुमको बहुत
You look
प्रेम करते हो
everyone with equal eye. And all those people who have such qualities, I always love
कि
such
तुमको
souls.
सर्वलोका
Shivji goes
लोकपाल
on to say
संसार
further
वंदन्त्य अर्चुपासते अहम च भगवानात्मा स्वयं च हरीश्वर, आप जैसे साधुओं
Lord
की
Shiva says to
पूजा
Sage Markand
शिव जी
that
तो करते ही हैं,
worshipping
लेकिन
such
ब्रह्मा
sages and
और
sadhus
शिव
like
जी,
you,
साक्षात हरि
not even
ही
I
आप जैसे
worship
साधुओं की वंदना, आप
sadhus
जैसे
and
साधुओं की
saints
पूजा
of
करते
your
हैं।
type, but even Lord
अहम
Hari
च
engages
भगवानात्मा
in worship of
भगवान
such
आत्मा
sadhus and
स्वयं
saints
हरि
as
ईश्वर,
you.
आप
So
जैसे
even
साधुओं की वंदना
Ishwar
और
himself
पूजा करते हैं,
engages in worshipping sadhus like
यही
you.
नहीं,
And
बहुत
not
बड़ी
just
बात शिव
this,
जी ने कह
you
दी,
see, Lord Shiva goes on to say
बहुत बड़ी
further,
बात
and it's a very wonderful
कहते
principle that
हैं,
Lord Shiva
अब
is attempting
तुम्हारी
to establish.
जहां पर पवित्र जल हो वही तीर्थ नहीं है,
A
गंगा में जाके
pilgrimage
अपना यहाँ नहीं धोना है, केवल
place
जहां पर
is
जल
not
होता
a
है
place
पवित्र जल
where there is
होता
holy
है पवित्र
water.
सरोवर, वही तीर्थ नहीं है।
So a pilgrim place
न
is not
जले
just defined by
जल,
the presence of holy
और जहां
water
देवों की भगवान की मूर्ति होती है वही स्थान पवित्र नहीं है,
and the place where there
केवल
are
तीर्थ ही
the
पवित्र
deities of
नहीं
the
है,
Lord
और केवल
is
मंदिर
not the
ही
only holy
तीर्थ
place.
नहीं है। मैं तो कहता हूँ
I
ये
say,
तीर्थों में तो जाना
Lord
ही
Shiva is
पड़ता है,
explaining to Sage Markand
तब जाकर
that
पुण्य
only at a
होता है।
place where there is holy water
देवलोक में मंदिर
is
बनते
not
हैं,
a pilgrim
पूजा
place.
करनी पड़ती है, तब
Only
जाके
where
पुण्य
there are
होता
deities
है,
of the Lord,
लेकिन दूसरी
that
जगह
place in
नहीं है।
itself is not just
तब
holy
जाने
alone.
वाले में
Rather,
नियम
Lord Shiva
दर्शनम
says
अर्थ,
that one is required to go
लेकिन
to a
आप
pilgrim
जैसे
place
साधुओं का
or
केवल
a
दर्शन हो
temple. But the
आदमी
fact
पवित्र हो
is,
जाता है।
if people get to have
गंगा में
darshans
तो जाना पड़ता है,
of
जाना
the
चाहिए,
sadhus and saints
गंगा
of
में तो
your
जाना पड़ता
stature,
है,
the
ये
person gets
साधु दर्शन
liberated. The
कहीं भी हो
person
जाए,
gets to have mercy and blessings of the Lord. So your darshans, your sight in itself is like a pilgrim place, is like a temple. So Shivji goes on to further say, and he is, explaining the glory of Vaishnavas. Lord Shiva says in the form of shloka, which is before you, that if an individual goes on to listen and attempt to understand the lives and works of a Vaishnava, come what may, the degree of offenses that he has committed, the degree of sins that he has committed, but he will be absolved of all his sins and offenses if he listens to the story of saints like you. Then on the top of that, if somebody gets to have a conversation with saints like you, this in itself is a very strong achievement, and I have been very privileged and fortunate to be engaging myself in a conversation with you. Now, having explained these reasons, Shivji said to Markandeya sage that you desire and ask whatever you wish. Sage Markandeya is perhaps contemplating that last time he had the desire of understanding the illusory power of the Lord, and that he was engaged in such strong challenge of destruction and waters. Lord Shiva still was insistent that even the consort of mine, which is Devi Parvati, has a desire from me that I should grant you your wish and desire. Now, what ideally you should be seeking from Lord Shiva, this is illustrated in the shloka before you. And in this shloka, Rishi Markandeya, Sage Markandeya, is asking Lord Shiva. So what is Sage Markandeya asking from Lord Shiva is explained here. So the shloka goes something like this.
हे महादेव,
Oh Mahadev, if you strongly have a desire to offer me something, to grant me my desire and my wish, then just give me one desire, and that desire is that the desire of my heart comes true. Now Lord Shiva asks, what desire does your heart have? So in the second line, Sage Markandeya goes on to say that Lord Achyut, Lord Narayan, Lord Krishna, that, oh Lord Shiva, that you may please be merciful upon me so that I may strongly be engaged in devotional service to Lord Krishna. And secondly, as I develop strong devotional service towards the Lord, the similar devotional service I should have towards the devotees of the Lord. So I should have devotional service towards the Lord and also towards the devotees of Lord. As Lord Shiva listened such utterances of Sage Markandeya, he offered the devotional service to Sage Markandeya towards Lord Krishna and towards the devotees of Sri Krishna. So this event of Sage Markandeya being given the desire by Lord Shiva happened and took place in the month of Shravan. So we shall engage in, if we shall engage in listening such glorifications of Lord Shiva, granting the desire to Sage Markandeya, then we should also be getting the mercy and blessings of Lord Shiva, and that we shall be able to have the devotional service towards Lord Hari. So on the day of Purnima in the month of Shravan, this
पूर्णाहुति करें। श्रीपाद जयदेव गोस्वामी कहते हैं, वह सी वपुषि विश्वदेव सदम जलदाभम हलहति भीति मिलीति यमुनाभम केशव धृत हलधर रूप जय जगदीश हरे। जिन्होंने अपने अपने हाथों में हल धारण किया है।
So the one who carries plow share in his hands and shoulders,
बलराम जी के हल के प्रहार से
and
यमुना जी भयभीत हो चुकी हैं,
because of
और बलराम जी के वस्त्रों में छिप गई हैं,
the
और इसलिए बलराम जी
plowshare of
लामाहीन होने के हो चुके हैं।
Balramji,
ऐसे
Yamuna Maya
शिव ने
is scared
हलधर रूप धारण
and
किया
she
है।
took refuge of Balramji. Because of this, the outfits of Balramji
उपनिषद
has turned blue. So
नायम आत्मा
let
बलहीने
all glories be to Balramji.
को बिना बल के प्राप्त नहीं किया जा सकता।
You see, it is said in the scriptures, it is said in Upanishads
बलहीने
that one cannot attain the Lord without strength.
परमात्मा को बलहीन व्यक्ति न लभ्य प्राप्त नहीं कर सकता, माने बल वाला व्यक्ति प्राप्त कर सकता
So
है।
only a person who has the strength can attain Paramatma. So there are two meanings to it.
बिना परमात्मा नहीं मिल सकते।
So without strength, you cannot attain Lord. Now, Bal or strength here means Lord Balram. So you cannot get Krishna without Balaram. And second Bal is the physical strength, isn't it? Or the intellectual strength, or that of heart. So if you want to have such a strength, you can seek it only from Lord Balram. So chanting the holy name of the Lord, the strength to chant the holy name of the Lord, the strength to engage in devotional service can be sought from Balramji. So there are many stories, but in Shrimad Bhagavatam you might have heard that when Lord Krishna was in Dwarka and Brajvasis were strongly missing Lord Krishna, then at that point of time, Balramji sent Balramji for Vrindavan, and that asked Balramji that offer some pleasure to the Brajvasis, because Lord Krishna was fully confident that whatever he is desiring, Balramji would be able to fulfill that. You see, in the age of Kali Yuga, when we all strongly miss Lord Krishna, so between us and Lord Krishna, there is this element of Guru between us and Lord Krishna, and that is Lord Balram. You see, another name of Balramji is Dao. And in our Braj, the saying goes like that. So there is no other person than Daoji who is engaged in strong charity and offerings. There's not even a single giver to the status and stature of Balramji in Braj. Pralambasur was killed by Lord Balram in Bhandirwan, and then Charukya Mushti fought with Jarasangh. Even Rukmi, the brother-in-law of Lord Krishna, was also killed. Naimisharanya, at Naimisharanya, Balla was killed. And then he also killed Romharshan Sut. So there are many pastimes of Balramji. But today, one of the devotees, he was asking me that the consort of Balramji, you see, is not mentioned very frequently. And this is true. Even in Ramayan, the consort of Lakshmanji is not frequently mentioned. And same thing happens here. Same Lakshmanji came in the form of Balramji. If you see, strong devotion, stronger than that of Sita Maya, was that of Urmila. You see, staying away from her husband and still being dedicated and faithfully performing all the services, are very strong. element. So Madhusudan Prabhu was asking me to develop something on Revati Maya. So the saying goes in bridge, goes like this, that everyone calls for thou and nobody calls for Maya, which is Revati Maya. But in the court of Balramji, whatever shall be the desire of Revati ji, that alone shall happen. So if for some time we ignore what happens in the court of Balramji, the fact in the lives of each one of us is whatever happens shall happen at the desire of the Matajis. So you see, even if you go to Brij Vrindavan, even today at the place where Balramji is situated, when you see the temple of Dauji, you would see that Revati Maya stands at the corner. You won't be able to see her from the front, rather you have to see it at the corner. So let us develop upon the uh, marriage of Balramji and Revati Maya. So Raja on earth was the king and his son was Rev. King Rev had 100 sons and the eldest among 100 ones was Revat. And King Revat, who was also called as Kukudmi. So King Revat had a very beautiful daughter.
सतयुग की घटना है, सतयुग की बात है। नाम था रेवती। अब रेवती इतनी सुंदर थी, उनके लायक कोई वर ही नहीं मिला। तो एक दिन राजा रेवत अपनी कन्या को लेकर रथ पर बैठकर ब्रह्मलोक चले गए।
So once King Revat went to Brahmlok along with his daughter, and he asked Lord Brahma that which groom have you chosen for my daughter? Brahmaji said that when you came here, I was engaged in devotional service and you spent almost half an hour. And when half an hour has passed by in Brahmlok, so when you would go back to earth, yugas has passed by. So the boys that you had in mind had already disappeared. Now King Revat folded his hand before Lord Brahma and asked, now what should I be doing? So Lord Brahma said, for your daughter, there is just one suitable boy, which is Balramji. So now King Revat and Revati ji descended upon the earth and got married, Balramji with Revati Maya. But you see, Balramji belonged to the Dwapar age and Revati Maya belonged to the Satyug age. And there was a huge difference of the time and also the age group. So you see, in earlier yugas, people had a tall body. But as yugas passed by, this height goes on to decrease. So the height of Revati Maya was just double that of Balramji. So you see, things were easily going on at home, but whenever he would go out, people would mock at this fact that Revati Maya was almost double in height than that of Balramji. Once Balramji went very restless at this. So he brought out his plowshare and placed it on the shoulders of Revati Maya and pressed it to the extent that Revati Maya came down to the height of Balramji. So you see, if there is a problem of height at your house, then use plowshare. Now see, there are two things. Some wives, some Matajis grows vertically, some Matajis grow horizontally. So you see, you have the solution before you now to revere Balramji, who can give you his plowshare for the solution. You see, all the strength can be given and offered by Balramji. So I wish and I hope that such Balramji may bestow the strength of bhakti and devotion to us. So I offer my gratitude and humble obeisances to the month of Shravan, the appearance day of Balram ji, Jhulan Yatra, and holy festival of Rakhi Bandhan. We are moving towards the completion of the 7-day Katha, the 305th Katha. You see, nobody looks forward to bring a close to the Kathas, but unfortunately we are tied by our time. You see, 7 days passed by so soon. You know, I feel that after a long time I saw Bhai Lal Patel, Bhai Ramesh Bhai, but in the flip of a second time passed by, 7 days passed by. You see, time passes by within seconds when you listen to Hari Katha. So, appearance day of Balramji, we heard here at Zoom, an appearance of Lord Krishna, we would listen and engage in on the banks of river Ganga. So now I seek apologies from each one of you if I have uttered anything wrong or if I have ended up hurting any sentiments of yours. So if I have brought any hurt to your feelings, I seek my apologies. I never intend to hurt anybody's feeling, but unwillingly, unknowingly. So I would extend with my folded hands and seek apologies from you. So I extend my warm gratitude to the host family, Patel family, who have organized this beautiful katha in the loving memory of Madhubin Patel and Yogesh Bhai Patel from New Jersey, UK, Bhai Lal Patel, Deepa Ben, Hina Ben, Pankaj Kumar Prabhu. You all organized this great, wonderful task of organizing the katha. So I extend my heartfelt thanks, and also from Bangladesh Chand family, I extend my heartfelt thanks. And I also want to assure that each one of you are engaged in devotion towards Lord Hari. Please continue with the same devotion, with the effect of bhakti and devotion. Kalprarani Mata, Durjatan Chand, each one of the ancestors for sure will get liberation, and there is no doubt about it. So let us bring a close to today's session. I am bringing a close to the session a little earlier because I want to listen each one of you. So all glories to Srila Prabhupada, Guru and Guranga. Hare Krishna, Radhe Shyam.
की निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे